Yo, this is Teresa Weatherspoon, better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe the can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. It's been a long damn weekend and it's raining already, so you know there's some BS going on these past couple of days in the NFL. This is probably the only time you ever gonna hear me talk about a Donald Trump tweet on the show, and I'm in agreement with it. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend of Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? You know it had to be a crazy weekend. It's only Saturday. This is the third straight day we've done a live. This is the fourth day this week we've been on live because there's so much going on between the NFL draft, NBA playoffs, tweets, rumors. It's just a lot going on, man. Let's get to it.
Exactly. Yo, see, we know all the basketball heads saying because the players they want us to go straight to the basketball talk.
Well, I mean, shout out to
know.
the supporters. Shout out to the supporters because, like I said, this is the fourth night this week that we've gone live, and they've been rocking with us every night. Trip.
That's a fact. That's a fact. We appreciate y'all. So since y'all want us to start with the NBA, we're gonna start with the NBA. Shout out to Tyson first in the comments. Trip, your Lakers went down last night to the Timberwolves. I thought Edwards played his best game in the series, and McDaniels is a problem with his length pause. What impressed y'all about about Minnie? I mean Anthony Edwards, is Anthony Edwards, but it was the rest of the team, you know, that won this game. It was a combination, obviously. We know what Anthony Edwards is going to do. But yeah, you need Jaden McDaniels to step up. You need Julius Randle to step up. You need Gobert to rebound, the block shots, do what he does in order for these guys to win. LeBron went off. This was like the reverse game, I guess. LeBron went off last night. Luka had a slow game on the road. But you know, listen, you can't do nothing but tip your hat to the Timberwolves. They came to play their first game at home this year's playoffs, and you know they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I thought this series was going to be very tough for the Lakers from the jump. I talked about that, the athleticism of the Timberwolves, and the fact that if they're clicking on all cylinders like they were last night, like they were in Game 1, I don't think the Lakers can match firepower. Now the Lakers might have more star power with Luka and LeBron, but after Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle gives you 22 and 5. Jaden McDaniels gives you 30 and 5. Ant goes 28 and 8. DiVincenzo and Reed both go for 10 and 11. They get 25 bench points yesterday. You look at the Lakers top to bottom, Lakers just ain't getting that type of contribution from everybody. You know, you get Braun's performance, you get Luka's performance, but who's the third guy? Austin Reeves hasn't really had a good game in the series yet. They need somebody else to be that third guy for them. So right now, I just think the Timberwolves, the athleticism, and then the ability to give depth. I said before yesterday's game, Trip, rebounding was going to be big. The Lakers were able to handle the rebounding. It was even there. But everywhere else, the Timberwolves beat them. The Timberwolves were plus 10 on fast break points, minus 8 in terms of turnover differential in the game. So, and then when you factor in the bench points, that's really what leads to the Timberwolves being able to win by 12 points. The Lakers shot the three ball better, but everywhere else, they lost that battle.
And yes, who ball scoop? You're right. Randall is having a good series. You know, that's when they made that trade with the Knicks and sent Cat to New York. This is what they wanted from Julius Randle. He's stepping up. I mean, at least in the first couple of games, we'll see how the rest of the series plays out. But yeah, he's definitely been doing his thing. Shout out to Will Gordon. See you. What it do, baby?
Shout out to Will. I know he's enjoying the Chargers draft and the process, how it's playing out for them. They are having a great draft.
Mm-hmm. Hope Baller Scoop says, don't it seem that when Braun has big games, it don't impact winning like it used to? Yeah, because Braun ain't just winning you games by, you know what I'm saying? Like the Miami Braun, even Cleveland Braun could just win you games just based off of my name being LeBron James. Like he get up out of bed and he gonna beat you. That's just how it is. But you know, 21 years in, 40 years old, everything pieces ain't gonna hit the same like they was 8 years ago, you know?
No, that's a fact. I think the biggest thing that Braun has learned since he's become a Laker is that the teams out west are deeper. Pause. If you look at some of the matchups that they've struggled in the West, these teams have more talent top to bottom, 1 through 7, 1 through 8. Whereas in the East, not to shit on the teams that he had to play, but let's keep it a buck. When you playing the best teams in the East were Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan in Toronto, or a young Indiana Pacers team. You beating teams that really aren't on your level yet. And so it's easy to just beat them when it's LeBron and one other guy. Now you're playing teams that require you to have a bench. And you're seeing it in other series in the playoffs, right? Like we all feel that the Joker is the best player in the NBA, but they ain't got the same depth that the Clippers got, and that's why they're struggling in the series. You can have the best player, you may not have the depth that's required to be able to advance.
Yeah, I'm saying they saying Luka had a stomach bug. That's why he was struggling in Game 3. I don't know. That's what I just read.
Well,
That's what they were saying.
Nico Harris probably poisoned him.
In fact,
Moving forward, anything bad that happened to Luka, I'm gonna blame Nico Harris.
That's a fact. It's definitely on Nico, man. He on some bull. But let's see. The Lakers just got to, Game 4. They're gonna have to come. They're gonna have to come back and win that. Take home court back, and then go back to LA and do what they got to do. Finish this thing off.
Right.
Yeah, but it was the flu, but he didn't have a flu game. Like it wasn't like the MJ flu game, Tyson. That's all. So, Will Gordon says Browns big games can be moot when Reeves in their third off their big three. Yeah, I mean, listen, they got to have Braun and Luka clicking at the same time. That's really what they need in this series. If both of them is clicking, we're not even having this conversation. We haven't had that yet in the series.
I don't even know if that's going to be the difference, though, Trip. I truly believe Minnesota's just a deeper team, and Minnesota could throw more options at them. Like I said, if Minnesota wants to try to control the boards, they can leave Rudy in there, and if Rudy starts to get exposed, you got Naz Reid who can come off your bench. When you get the games that you get from McDaniels yesterday, those are great. But guess what? If he struggles, you got a guy in DiVincenzo who can give you 16 to 20 off the bench. They have the options that the Lakers just don't have. That's why I always thought this was going to be a very difficult series for the Lakers, because they need Braun and Luka to beat themselves every game. Any game that they're not Braun and Luka, it's an easy victory for Minnesota.
Thanks. Let me go back up to the top. Ron, what's going on, man? Both of y'all was right on picking Magic over the Celtics. Boston is fine, but I love Banchero and Wagner, their dogs. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Shout out to Paolo, man. Blue Devils. Paolo is nothing to play with. He's getting better every season. We sit and we watch him progress. So I didn't think they were going to get swept in the series. Now, do they win anything else? You got to show and prove that one. But I think this thing might be over in 5. I think Boston wins Game 4 and they go back home and close this out in Boston.
Yeah, Orlando was desperate, and I'm glad they got the win yesterday, because we talked about it that, we want this to at least be some sort of a series. We just saw one series end in a sweep. We had a couple other ones that are on the verge of a sweep after the Cavaliers win today. So I'm glad, Orlando at least made it interesting, but we'll see. I expect Tatum played well yesterday. So if it ain't going to be too many nights that Tatum plays that well and Boston struggles to score the way they did yesterday. You expect Boston to bounce back, and you expect them to be a little better. And for Boston's sake, I think if Boston expects to have a deep playoff run, they got to get the series out the way pretty quickly, and they got to get some rest, because we know Tatum's a little banged up. We know Brown's banged up. Porzingis took a nasty right. Holiday missed yesterday's game. Porzingis took a nasty cut the other day. So the last thing you want to do is let this young Orlando team hang around and play some unnecessary games.
And then somebody else mess around and get hurt.
Right.
You're going to have to close this thing out as soon as you can.
I expect Boston to be very motivated in the next one.
Yeah. I seen a Jimmy Butler question pop up here. I want to get to that one. Where were we? I think that was. Oh, here we go. Tyson. Any updates if Jimmy Butler is playing tonight? Last thing I read, it was going to be a game time decision for Jimmy Butler. But they're gonna need Jimmy. They're gonna need Jimmy in this series, because I do feel like Golden State can win this series, but they have to be healthy. And Jimmy Butler is a key piece to what Golden State has been able to do the last couple of weeks. While they won in Game 1, while they dominated in the playing round, Jimmy Butler's been a huge part of that. So they're definitely going to need Jimmy in this series. If he doesn't play tonight, Golden State still has a chance to win, but I'm just not confident as I would be if Jimmy was playing.
If Jimmy's not playing, their offense is going to struggle. We know that they become
Yeah.
very centered around Steph and getting him his shots, and it just makes it easier for Houston to defend if all they got to worry about is Steph tonight. So long term, they need Steph if they want to win the series. But last I heard, as you mentioned, was that he was a game time decision. They were still putting him through drills as we speak.
Exactly. Y'all keep them comments coming in. We're gonna get to everything. Hoopball Scoop says Jimmy just has to be 80%. His presence will help others. Yes. Because I mean, you do have the greatest shooter that God ever created in Steph Curry on the court as well. So when you have Jimmy, who you know, how, like when you talk about like Hakeem and Rob Sampson, they was the Twin Towers. But when you got Jimmy and Draymond together, those are the Bash brothers. And the physicality that Golden State can play with, if those two guys are on the floor, I don't think Houston can really match that. And then when you throw in the fact that, oh yeah, you know, there's little kid over there named Wardell,
Oh,
babyface assassin.
I don't know if we got
He's
the game on in the background. Trip Harden and Aaron Gordon got into it, and it looked like Harden took a swing at him.
I ain't gonna be good for the
Yeah,
for the stats.
Who ball is who? That is a fight breaking out in Denver.
Yeah.
He tried to slap him. It was open handed. Yeah, it was open hand jump.
I gotta put the game on in the background over there.
Harden definitely squared up though. Harden. It started off. If for those of y'all that's not watching, it started between Harden and Christian Braun on a hard foul. Christian Braun had reached in on Harden. They faced up. Then Joker came over. Harden pushed him, and then Aaron Gordon came over, and he kind of like he took a swipe at him like an open hand slap.
Oh no, that's crazy work. All right, somebody about to get ejected out this piece. It's not gonna be a good look real soon. Let me come back up here to the top. Tyson says Thunder complete the sweep over Memphis. Shea with a 38-piece McNugget. What does Memphis need to do next? Remember, a few years ago they were supposed to be OKC. Yes, but they are not that team anymore. You remember, realistically, you know what I'm saying, they best perimeter defender, and Dylan Brooks. He's in Houston. You see what Houston is doing right now. Steven Adams is also over there. He was one of their enforcers. So they don't have that team anymore. I don't know. It just never really worked out with Marcus Smart going there. And Ja being in and out of the lineup so much over this past 2.5 seasons, we just never got back to the Memphis that was, you know, finishing in the second seed and looking like the future, you know, one of the future dominant franchises. But they're not that anymore. So they're probably gonna have to wind up blowing this thing up. And Eric, you've been saying, I want to say for at least a year now, that Ja was gonna be out of there pretty soon.
Yeah, I've anticipated Ja being out of there. I think the firing of Tyler Jenkins was the first step, because all of the rumors coming out of that camp was that he didn't feel Ja should be the leader of this team, that Ja wasn't mature enough to handle the leadership role. The organization felt it was time for a new voice in that locker room. Now they get swept. I don't know what direction they can really go, because to build a team around Ja is very difficult. Ja does not play enough. And I know there's going to be people who's going to say, oh, Ja's a great talent. He is a great talent. And I think Ja is one of the few guys that night in, night out, we love to see play basketball. But in terms of a guy who can be a leader of your team, I don't think he's that. He's often injured. He's not reliable enough. He hasn't taken on the leadership role in Memphis just yet. And so I think it's at a point where either you're going to have to try to bring in veterans to settle that situation down, or you're going to have to move on from Ja and kind of hit the reset button. Because right now, Ja's voice in that organization is too loud. And if he's the leader, I think this is what you're going to keep seeing. You're going to keep seeing early playoff exits and a lot of up and down seasons from them moving forward.
Yeah. Well, he was definitely right about one thing. Ja's not mature enough to lead that team. As of 2 weeks ago, he was still doing the shoot 'em up, bang bang stuff.
Though I can't front. I love the grenade celebration. I ain't gonna front.
No, I do, and that's fine for anybody not named Ja Morant, Jason Williams, Gilbert Arenas. There's a couple other guys where it's like you can't do those type of celebrations. Like,
Right.
there's too much going on outside of basketball that you've been involved in that you should not be. That should not be your celebration dance or
Yeah.
part of whatever you're gonna do when you make a basket. All right. Anybody else is like, yeah, if Steph want to do that, that's fine. But when you out here holding up guns and going live like you ain't got no damn sense, that's not the celebration that you should be doing every time you make a basket.
Right.
He got the grenade celebration. Yeah, of course he did. Will says, would you rather have for the next 4 years Ja Morant or Trey? If Ja can actually be on the court, stay out of trouble off the court, I would go with Ja. But because I'm not confident that he can actually do that, I'm gonna have to say Trey.
Josh younger and he's probably the more dynamic player, but I'm going to say Trey, and here's why: because we've seen a recipe for success with Trey Young when he got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and
Mhm.
now the Hawks have been trying to get back to that. But if you look back at that team and the way they built it, with the rim running big of Capella, with the perimeter defenders like DeAndre Hunter who was on that team, and Bogdanovich who was on that team coming off as like a super sub. If you build that again, and the Hawks kind of had that earlier this year before Jalen Johnson got hurt with Johnson and Dyson Daniels. They kind of had their two wings. They got the rookie big. They got some pieces there. I think there's actually a path where you could build something around Trey Young because he does have great point guard skills, and you can put him in a lot of pick and roll. He's very dangerous. John Morant, like I said, he's more dynamic. He's a better athlete, but he's also limited. John Morant is nowhere near the shooter that Trey Young is. And so John Moran is kind of a one-trick pony at this point with Trey Young. We've seen him at least take a team on a playoff run. We've never seen it from Ja yet. And that's even with Ja being like the number 2 seed twice in the West.
Yeah, yeah. So it is what it is. Let me scroll back up to the top. We got some questions about that about that fight. Well, first of all, Eric, you got another compliment on the background.
I appreciate that. You know, we trying to switch things up. Well, you already know, bro.
Let's see. Hold on. Oh well, yeah. Both y'all coming with some crucial fittings lately. Gonna have to join us. And reclaim my crowd. All right.
I
Well,
got,
you always welcome to pull up, bro.
yeah, you know that, Will. You know that. Oh, they got
Tyson
ejected.
said,
Hardy got
"Did
ejected.
that's why I told you it was about it was going
Hold
up."
on, hold on, is that an ejection or they just going to the half? Because the way he was pointing out at the crowd was almost like he got ejected. I don't have the volume up.
Well, yeah. Well, we're
I
gonna
know
see in
it's
the second
going.
half if he don't come back
Yeah,
out. We gonna know for sure. Tyson said, did Gordon get his ass beat recently? He has a busted lip and his eye was black,
yeah,
and Harden didn't do that. So
yeah. There was that rumor
what?
circulating because he did that press conference with he had a black eye and his lip was swollen. It looked bad. I don't know what happened though. He never spoke on what exactly happened.
That's crazy, boy. He need to get it together. All right, let me go back up to the top. We got a couple more NBA questions. Oh, hold on, let me see. Will said, for real, the last time Ja got fined for the gun celebration, Gil said on Gil's Arena that he needs to stop doing gun shit and throw a grenade at the opposing team's bench. Ja did it the very next game. Hey, listen, at least you know he's staying in tune with the culture and what's
Right.
going on outside. Football School says, I've been watching these playoffs and there's so many Duke players making an impact on NBA teams. Yeah, man, you see what up? You see them
Yeah.
Blue Devils out here, man. Only if Zion can get his act together. You know what I'm saying? He could have lived up to that potential. But yeah, man, you got Tatum in Boston. You got Paolo out here doing this thing in Orlando. Like Blue Devils is we outside. We working this NBA playoff. Let me see here. Okay. Brandon Chambers, what's good, brother? The way the Clippers been playing of late, can they get to the finals? Healthy Claw is a problem. Um, you know what? I as much as I don't want to say it, I gotta say, yeah, they gonna play like this. If Kawhi is looking like when Toronto made that run to the final, that's how Kawhi looking. He looking like he's back to that. And if he keeps that up, if James Harden stay out of fights and don't keep getting ejected from games, I think they got just as good a chance as any to make it to the finals. And I To be honest with you, I like the matchup with the Clippers versus any of the top teams in the Eastern Conference.
Well, if they're able to win this series, they would get OKC next, which would be a great matchup. But yeah, healthy Kawhi with the way this team is playing. I think the evolution of Zubac as well. Zubac always was a good player, but him being now a defensive presence in the middle, Harden being a true point guard. They even somehow this may speak to the brilliance of Ty Lue. They even got Ben Simmons looking like a reasonable bench player now for them.
Bro,
So
I was just saying.
if they're gonna get these type of contributions, like Norman Powell's a great addition off the bench. Bogdanovich is a guy who can shoot off the bench. Like I said, they got Ben Simmons playing their backup big as a 6'10", 4 or 5 with them. So yeah, they definitely got a shot. They got a shot to make a run.
Facts. With the Nuggets, I think their problem is their young dogs haven't improved quick. Peyton Watson is average to me, and the white kid from Kansas hasn't grown quick enough. And Nuggets were banking on them. Yeah, because they let all of the role players go who helped them win a championship. Caldwell Pope was Brown. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have those guys that help them, give them that extra push off the bench to win a championship. And then if you look, Michael Porter Jr. has been very inconsistent. Aaron Gordon, same thing. Jamal Murray, I don't know if we're gonna get 25 or 12 out of Jamal Murray. Jokic has been the consistency for the Denver Nuggets. And as you know, Eric, this is a team sport. Ain't nobody winning just off of one player. You're gonna need help at some point, and Denver has not been getting that. And as a result, the Clippers have looked very good in this series, and it's possible they could go up 3-1 today.
Yeah. Shout out to Brandon Chambers. I mean, the statement in the comment says it itself. They really thought that their other role players were going to step up. And you can include Michael Porter Jr. in that as well, because they thought he was going to eventually take that next step as well. And he really hasn't taken that step. But Christian Braun hasn't really played the way they thought he was going to play. They lost veteran guys that really helped them along the way. Like you said, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, don't forget, he was in that mix with them as well. And they just were never able to replace those guys. And the West just kept getting better. So for the Nuggets, I don't think this is just a problem this year. I think this is going to be a problem moving forward. But also in this series, I think one of the things that hasn't been talked about enough is you fire your head coach a week before the playoffs start. And you put Adelman in a situation as a first-time head coach trying to game plan to go against Ty Lue, who's an NBA champion, who's a guy who's been in a lot of big playoff series. And so Ty Lue is really coaching circles around a guy who don't even got 20 game experience yet. You got somebody playing on all Madden against a rookie level. It's not the same thing.
It's facts. No, it's true. And, we kind of went in, what I'm saying, on them when they made that choice to fire Mike Malone. But now we're here. Now we're in the moment, in the playoffs, where not only do you got to get the best of the best out of your players, but your coaches got to step their game up too. They got to level up. And when you're playing an experienced veteran NBA champion coach in Ty Lue, who knows how to make adjustments, who understands how important adjustments are in the playoffs, you're going to lose every time. And, it may not be enough that you have the best player in basketball because at the end of the day, the best player in basketball is still only one player. You still got 4 other spots that got to be filled on the floor. And if those guys are not stepping up, if they're not hitting shots, if they're not getting loose balls, rebounds, and doing all the little odds and ends that it's going to take to get you to another NBA Finals, then, you can find yourself out in the first round to a very tough LA Clippers team led by Kawhi Leonard, who, when healthy, is top 5 in this league.
Yep.
So it is what it is. All right. Did we cover all y'all NBA stuff? Oh, no, we got one more. Hold on. Hoop Baller Scoop, because we gotta talk. We got some things we gotta speak about. Hoop Baller Scoop says, before y'all get to football, I want to ask you both. Shea is the MVP hands down, but as an overall player, where does he rank in the NBA? You can't put him no lower than 5 right now. That's just how I feel about it. And you can anywhere you want to throw him in the top 5. I mean, obviously Jokic is number 1. But from 2 to 5, any one of those spots you could put him there, and I'm not gonna be mad at you.
He's the MVP of the league. I've said it for quite some time. I've been on the kind of Shea bandwagon for a while. I've been saying this.
Mhm.
If you want to rank him in the league, best overall player is probably Joker, and then is it Shea number 2? Is it Giannis number 2? So I think Shea's right at 3 or 4. Really, I know the supporters love to throw Tatum's name in there. I wouldn't put Tatum in that category. Sorry, I know how that's gonna be perceived. Sorry,
Come on, Eric. They're gonna say you already used to hating on him.
I know how that's perceived. Sorry, it's not.
Here you go
again,
hating on Jason Tatum. Here
He's
you
not
go.
on that. Yeah, is that hate? I guess the truth is hate. I don't know, but Tatum ain't in that conversation.
They think
I got Shea third. If you were starting a team today, you probably would take Joker and Giannis 1 and 2.
Yes.
Maybe Luka 3, even though I got Shea over Luka.
Yeah.
But I think
Just
that's your 4.
Because he's a two-way player. He's athletic. He can do a lot. Luka is gonna win games just based off of the offense, but offense ain't always gonna win you every game. Sometimes you gotta lock in and play defense.
Well, the biggest reason why I love Shea's game is that Shea can affect the game off the ball. You see it on offense sometimes where he's not ball dominant. He can just work off the ball, get to his spots, get into his mid-range game, and then punish you in those areas. So to me, Luka is so ball dominant that's where Luka beats you. But if you take Luka off the ball, if you can kind of keep him away, if you can prevent the catches and the touches, Luka isn't as effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, like I said, you can't put him out of the you can't put him outside of the top 5, all right? You cannot put him outside.
Hold on. It's all for the games. We joking, man. Tatum is a great player. I'm not taking that away from Tyson, but come on. We can't pretend that Tatum's in the same conversation with Joker, Giannis, Shea, and Luka. Like those guys is on a different level. Tatum is a great player, but he's not on that level.
That's a fact. You know
what I'm saying? We gotta have fun with the comment section as well, because if Poonamani was in here, they'll reference a time that I talked about Tatum in last year's finals. They'll still bring that up.
Facts. Hold on. All right. So now, hold on. I'm gonna give y'all 30 seconds. Y'all got any more NBA comments? Drop them right now, because I'm ready to flame all 32 teams in the NFL right now. So y'all better drop them real quick, because we about to switch over to the NFL. Because I don't like the way they doing my guy Shador right now.
Shout out to Will. Shout out to Will.
Hold on, you know what? Just because we about to transition over to football, I'm gonna throw Will's other comment up. I was waiting for Braun to come out and say he knew the Browns would take Shador in the 5th round.
You too early, Will. He gonna drop that after the Lakers get eliminated from the playoffs. Then he'll.
Watch your tone. Come on, we can't do that right now.
It's about to happen.
We cannot do that right now.
Okay,
we can't do that. We're not. We're already on to football, Eric.
Oh, now we're on to football. Now we're not talking about that. We're on to football.
You should have said we were on the basketball segment of the show.
I said this is going to be a very tough series for the Lakers. I've been saying that since the playoffs started.
All right, now we're on the NFL. Now we're talking about this NFL draft that had the number 2 ranked QB coming out of college get skipped through the first 4 rounds and not get drafted into the fifth round of the NFL draft, which I think is a bunch of BS. I think everybody around the world feels like this is a bunch of BS that Shador was not drafted until the 144th pick. You cannot tell me there's 143 players better than Shador in this draft. That man should have dropped all the way to the 5th round. I said at the beginning of the show, this is probably the first and only time you will ever hear me come on this show and agree with a Donald Trump tweet. Even Donald Trump knew that this was some BS that Shador didn't get drafted. I heard so many people in the media, former athletes speaking out, about, the Shador situation and why he dropped all the way to the 5th round. There's no way you telling me the 10th ranked quarterback is going to get drafted before the 2nd ranked quarterback. I've never seen that happen ever since I've been watching the NFL draft, and I'm sure it hasn't happened ever in the history of the draft. What the hell happened, Eric?
Well, before I start, I want to make sure we're far enough into the live that I can curse, right?
Yes, you're good.
I know how that. I know how
This,
that goes.
this is not. This is not going on the Thursday night show. So
I
you
know
all
how
good.
that. I know
boss.
how that plays out sometimes. First of all, it's a bunch of bullshit. All right, let's start there, Trip. It's bullshit. We talked about it yesterday. We said the GMs and a lot of these GMs were talking out of both sides of their mouth. And to quote a chorus that French Montana used on a Fab song, when the hate don't work, they start telling lies. They hated Shador. There was a lot of hate for Shador because of his confidence, because of the way he's kind of changed the game in the college perspective. And you got to remember, what Deion did, we talked about it from the beginning, was changing the landscape of college football. He went out there and he questioned why a lot of these NFL teams weren't recruiting at the HBCU level. He questioned why aren't the HBCU guys getting pro days? And when he went down to Jackson State, that very first year, I believe there was 12 HBCU players that were drafted that very first year once Deion shined that spotlight on the HBCU programs and football at that level. And then when Shador succeeded there, people tried to, again, move the goalposts. Oh, well, that's HBCU. He can't do it at a Power 5 school. So he went to Colorado and put up good numbers. And then when he did it there, then the narrative became, oh, well, he don't have a marquee win. He didn't beat no big time programs. I mean, all he did was go there and they went to a team that had won one game, and within 2 years they won 8 games and were bowl eligible. That's all he did. Yeah. But that's not what the people wanted, because this whole narrative of he needs to humble himself is bullshit. We know what they really mean by that. They're not mad that he's confident in himself. When they say be humble, they only use that type of verbiage and that type of wordage for one particular race. Because I never heard anybody say Baker Mayfield needs to be humble. I never heard anybody say Johnny Manziel needs to be humble. I never hear anybody say Nick Bosa needs to be more humble as a quarterback. When Joe Burrow is lighting victory cigars, no one is ever saying he should be more humble. Yeah, but because Shador Sanders does the watch sign, oh, he arrogant, right? To me, the bullshit in all this too is that for months, Shador Sanders was not only rated the number 2 quarterback, he was projected to go somewhere within the range of the number 3 pick through the number 10 pick. All my drafts, every draft expert, Todd McShay, Mel Kiper, any draft expert you wanted that's talked about the topic over the last couple of days, they all were shocked that he dropped. And they all said the same thing. They didn't have understand because there was no reason why he should have dropped out of the first round. Even if you want to say, all right, he wasn't going to go top 10, because like I said, Todd McShay originally had him as the number 20th player on his board. He had him as the number 2 quarterback, number 20th player. That still puts you in the late first round. Yes. We get out of the first round. If you want to justify it and say, hey, every team didn't need a quarterback, fair. Every team didn't need a quarterback. We know that. All 32 teams don't need a quarterback. But there's no reason you tell me we get into the second round now and you're still not taking them. There's no reason we get into the third round now and you're still not taking them. And with the Cleveland Browns general manager,
no reason we should get to the 4th round.
Damn sure, no reason. This narrative of, oh, he didn't interview well. Well, when were you guys going to bring that up then? Because again, for months, all the draft experts were collecting data that suggested he was going to be drafted in the first round. And don't tell me he didn't interview well, or that he, like they tried to nod a narrative. Well, we feel Deion's had biased analysis of his son. Well, he didn't interview well with the teams he didn't want to be selected by. He was trying to finesse the system to get to where he wanted to go. These are all narratives that were created. So if that was the case, why the fuck would the NFL invite him to the draft? The NFL only invites you to the draft room when you're projected to be a top a first round pick. They don't invite the guy who's supposed to be a 3rd round pick. They don't invite the guy who's projected to be a 4th round. They're not supposed
to be a 5th round.
Right. They invite they literally highlight the top 35 prospects and say, hey, look, you have a legitimate shot to get drafted in the first round. So we're inviting you to the green room. Now it's come at your own risk. It's come at your own risk, because if you don't get drafted, all right, that's out of our control. But all of our critical analysis suggests that you will be drafted in the first round, and we would like to invite you to the green room. That's how the process goes, Trip.
My question is, which one of these quarterbacks outside of Ken Ward had a better season than Shador that were drafted in front of him, one, or even comparable to what Shador did this past season? Which one of these guys?
None of them.
That's why I'm befuddled by this whole thing, because there's no way you telling me that every quarterback that that drafted in front of Shador looked better than him when you actually are watching the tape. And you know I'm an Alabama guy. I love Jalen Milroe. I'm happy for him. There's no way he should have been drafted before Shador.
No, but again, the only justifiable pick in front of Shador was Cam Ward. And though I didn't like Jackson Dart, I understood why. Jackson Dart, there was a lot of momentum for Jackson Dart because of the physicals, because of the arm strength, because of the mobility. And again, a guy looking great wearing shorts and a t-shirt throwing the ball in a dome, right? That does, to me, that doesn't highlight the attributes of Shador Sanders. That doesn't highlight his ability to read a defense or throw into tight windows. That doesn't highlight any of those things. So if you put Shador in that setting, yeah, of course. It's almost like, put it this way, right? If you put Jalen Brunson and you put John Morant on the court together just to work out, John Morant's always going to look better than him. John Morant is far more athletic. He's far more explosive. He's going to wow you more, right? But if you put on the game tape, you look at the game tape, you say, wait a minute, Jalen Brunson is orchestrating an offense. Jalen Brunson is doing things and navigating through defenses that John Morant can't do because John Morant can't shoot the same way. John Morant can't work off the bigs the way that Jalen Brunson can. So, of course, in that setting, Shador isn't going to match up to Cam Ward, who's got one of the best arms that we've seen come out of college anyway. But put the game tape on. Why did Jackson Dart jump out during the game tape? Tyler Sarge from Louisville, who's fucking 26 years old. You're telling me a guy who's had 3 season-ending injuries and is 26 years old is a better draft prospect than Shador Sanders, who just came off throwing of 4,200 yards and 39 touchdowns and was voted the quarterback of the year in college, was second team All-American. And then the Browns, I'm disgusted that the Browns took him. Shout out to Will, because it's always going to be lose forever when it comes to the Browns. You take Dylan Gabriel with the 3rd round pick. Then you circle back and you take Shador with the 5th round pick, and they got the nerve to say, well, we felt it was great value at the 5th round pick. He's a great kid. We always had him on our board. So why the fuck didn't you take him in the 3rd round?
Exactly.
If he was on your board.
Like that's the problem. It's crazy. Like that's BS. All right. And that's my problem with the combine as well, is like, first of all, it's the combine. It's not game situations. It's not real life. This is nothing that you see in the combine is going down that way once you get on the NFL field. All right, that's still for play. That's practice. When you get on the NFL field, I want to see the tape. What did you do on the field? And what we saw from Shador on the field, none of those other quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward that was drafted before him can even compare to the season that Shador had. Shout out, we got Nestor from the Hot Seat Podcast in the building. I'm gonna bring him on right now. I want to get your take on this whole Shador situation. Nestor, what's good, brother?
What's going on? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, Nestor's good, bro.
What's going on?
What was your take on Shador falling to the 5th round?
Oh man, I woke up today because I had to go to work. I woke up and I see they finally drafted him. I was wondering what's the reason why he fell. I was unsure. Is it something that they found out that about his health or something? Because he was slated to go like top 5, top 10, and it kept sliding back. So I don't know what was the deal with him. Or maybe it's character issues. You think they didn't want that kind of personality on the team? What was it with him? I was unsure myself, but I was puzzled.
They was trying to humble a young black man who doesn't necessarily need the NFL, because Shador got money. He don't need the NFL. He wants to play in the NFL, and I think I think that was the big part of it, was them trying to really just humble him. The issues with with Dion and how he speaks on the NFL, which is one thing I did want to address with him. They had reposted the take that he had as far as being drafted by the Cleveland Browns and saying that he should pull and Eli Manning if a player was to get drafted by the Browns, because that organization was so bad. We do know they are bad because you drafted a quarterback and you drafted during the 5th after you drafted a quarterback in the 3rd that was worse than Shador. But no one had an issue when Archie Manning wasn't letting his son go to play for the Chargers. When he
Yeah,
wasn't letting
yeah,
Eli go play for the Chargers, and Eli stood out
yeah,
and said, "Nah, I'm not playing for them. I'm going to the Giants." Nobody had a problem with that. He wasn't too
yeah.
arrogant. He didn't need to humble himself. But now,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, because it's Dion. Now we got a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like I
And
said,
I
those type of phrases and words are only used for a particular group of people. We don't
Yeah.
we
Who?
don't we never say a quarterback needs to humble himself, like I said, when he looks like Baker Mayfield or Johnny
Yeah.
Manziel. Then it's
Right.
passion, it's passion, it's fire.
Mhm.
Look at the intensity he plays with.
Yeah. I knew something was up when I saw those other guys getting drafted before. I'm like, who's this? You know, I was trying to figure out what was going on. I knew
They
something was up.
These were all made up narratives, bro. These were made up
Yeah.
narratives because, like I said, none of the draft experts have reported on any of these things.
Yeah.
Now, the week of the draft, now these stories about, oh well, he didn't interview well. Oh well,
Yeah.
he tanked some of the interviews, or he was arrogant in some of the interviews because he didn't want to go to certain teams. It's like, so
Yeah.
you telling me guys like Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, who do this for a living, who collect all the intel, they didn't know that his stock was falling. They kept putting him in their mock drafts at number 3,
Yeah.
number 4, number 5, but they collected intel and didn't know that hey, this team really isn't on him like that. They know before
Yeah.
everybody. And like I told Trip on draft night, I found it very ironic. All week, every mock draft had him going no lower than 9. Even last week,
Yeah.
when we recorded last week, several sources said the Giants were probably going to go Abdul Carter, so he might slide a little bit, but he won't go past 9 with the Saints. 9 with the Saints would be like the cutoff. Then on Thursday, literally 2 hours before the draft, there were gambling sites in Vegas that were saying the Steelers are the favorite to land him at 21. How would the Steelers get him at 21? How would he slide to 21 when for months we've been hearing he's without a doubt a top 10 pick? He's the number 2 quarterback in the draft.
Yeah.
So not only does he slide past the top 10, not only does he slide past the first round, but you got guys who are known to be project pieces. Jackson Dart is not a starting quarterback for at least another 2 years. Jalen Burrow is not a starting quarterback for at least another 2 years. And yet these guys are getting drafted before a guy who could probably come in and play right now.
I thought the Giants were going to trade back up to get him.
I was hoping would have went down because it would have been perfect. Because I do feel like it would be good for Shador to sit for at least a year and then, you know what I'm saying, take over. And it was like, all right, it's perfect because we got Russell Wilson. He's up for 2 years. You know, he's also older. We got Jameis Winston for a year. That's fine because you can let Jameis be the backup and then Shador can just be the third string, sit behind both of these guys. Learn, you know what I'm saying, be a gym rat, be a good locker room guy, and just study under a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP quarterback in Russell Wilson and a very good locker room guy in Jameis Winston. And then, in a year or two, get ready to step into that spot. And then you got a really good young core of, Shador. We got Malik Neighbors out there, and we might, the Giants, they might possibly, with Abdul Carter now going into this next season, that defensive line is probably going to be top 5. It's probably going to be top 5 with Abdul Carter. If he is what we believe he's going to be, then that defensive line is going to be top 5 this season.
Yeah. Who's the starting quarterback in Cleveland over there?
Technically, it's Deshaun Watson, but he's hurt, so it's not going to be.
It's Joe Flacco this year, but
oh man, so Shador might get some burn.
Nah, Shador ain't gonna get no burn.
No, don't think so.
It's a terrible.
He's going to be. I mean, he could probably outplay the rookie.
Dude, let me ask you a question. Realistically, how many quarterbacks you think they're gonna carry on their team?
Probably 3.
All right. So Deshaun's gonna be one of them because Deshaun is coming back at some point this year.
Right.
So Deshaun is one. Either Flacco or Kenny Pickett is gonna win that job coming out of training camp. So that's gonna be 2.
Yeah.
So for the third spot, you're gonna have whatever veteran that didn't win the job, whether it's Pickett or Flacco. You got Dylan Gabriel, who they invested a 3rd-round pick in.
Oh yeah.
You gotta stay.
And then you got Shador, who's a 5th-round pick, and the only money Shador's gonna get guaranteed is probably a signing bonus, which is probably gonna be in a range of $400,000.
Yeah.
Shador is getting a raw deal.
Yeah. Bad spot.
Yeah, because remember you're a 5th-round pick. There's no long-term investment there. We want you to play well because if you play well, great. But when you look at the way they already have it set up with their quarterback room, Deshaun is staying, and one of those veterans is definitely staying because that's who's going to start opening day. So now you got three guys. You got 3 guys fighting for that one spot.
Yeah, I'm not keeping 5 quarterbacks on the roster.
Right. You're not, and that's why I started the question by asking how many quarterbacks are you going to keep? You probably only going to keep 3. So now you got 3 guys. You got 3 guys fighting for one spot. That means Shador got to be damn near flawless through training camp, through preseason to get that last spot. Because again, there is no real financial investment in you. You are a 5th round pick. We didn't waste a lot of draft capital to get you, and your signing bonus is only going to be about $400,000. If we cut you, we just walk away. No harm, no foul.
Who you think made that pick to pick him at the 5th round? Because they showed when he got picked that the GM, he looked kind of happy. They showed them clapping. They didn't look kind of happy. You think it was the owner?
I think Stefanski was interested in him. Which this is why I say the Browns to me were full of shit, because there was reports when the Browns went to his pro day, the Browns had dinner with him and his family. They even flew out to Colorado, and then they also met him at the combine. They've had at least 3 separate dinners with Shador. They know who he is. They were very comfortable with speaking to Shador and making that pick. I don't understand. If you tell me, hey, we wanted to go a different route in round 1, I get that. But to draft another quarterback in round 3 when Shador was there, and then to circle back 2 rounds later, to me made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
To me, and I agree with what some of Will Gordon said. I think they wanted him, but I do believe when Will Gordon and I texted us yesterday, I do believe there was some sort of collusion amongst NFL teams to embarrass Shador Sanders. Because it makes absolutely no sense. There were too many teams that were tied to the young man who knew what he was about and were interested in him. Yeah. Tom Brady has a relationship with Dion and Shador. He was his mentor in high school.
Yeah. And how come New Orleans or Pittsburgh didn't pick him up? That was surprising too.
New Orleans also picked a
Pittsburgh ain't got no quarterback.
That was worse than
that's crazy.
And they drafted a quarterback who was not as good as Shador.
Wow.
It is really mind-boggling how there's no excuse for this, bro. I don't. And if you're Cleveland, you're not going to release your 3rd round draft pick just like that.
Yeah.
So realistically, does Shador even have a shot to play for the Cleveland Browns to make the roster? He might find himself being a free agent before the season even starts. He might be back in the free agent pool, which is crazy to me.
And that might be the best thing for him. I'm be honest, that might be the best thing for him, because I really think Shador, if he has his opportunity to pick where he wants to go, I think the number 1 spot on his list should be the LA Rams.
Yeah,
I would want to go to the Rams with Sean McVay, who's an offensive genius. They got Puka Nacua, they got Kyron Williams, they got a young defense, and if you go there, you could just learn behind Matthew Stafford for 1 year.
Yeah,
and then
all you gotta do is show improve,
and then take over. I think in terms of just fit, in terms of city coaching, it's the perfect fit. And remember, when Baker Mayfield's career was kind of going all over the place, Baker went half a season with the Rams, got himself right. And since that point, when he went to Tampa, Baker's career has changed. And he said it. Sean McVay shows you the game in a way that a lot of other coaches don't. So if Shador could go there for 1 year, let Matthew Stafford, I know they feel like they still got a chance to be competitive and maybe get to another Super Bowl. Yeah, Matthew Stafford, y'all do y'all thing. I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get right for next year. And then when they had the keys to Shador and he got the weapons now, I would love for him to go there and light things up.
Yeah. The organization is big because, as you say, Baker Mayfield, when I think he was in Cleveland, things weren't working out. Too much stuff going on. Then we start moving to with the Rams, and then now with the Tampa Bay, things working out. But now he's showing that why he was that picked so high when he came out. So yeah.
Listen, I just hope Shador balls out and slaps everybody in the face that look past this kid. And wouldn't give him a shot for whatever stupid reason you got that would allow him to fall to the 5th round. I hope that he has the best career possible, and that's why
you think he's better. You think,
but the best.
You think he's better than the other black quarterback? What's his name? Not Ward. The other one that was selected by the Seahawks.
No. There's no other quarterback in this draft that I believe is in the same breath. And this is not based off of me just being Shador. This is based off of what these individuals did this past season, right? Because the reality is yeah, you can go in the combine and light things up. You can have a pro day and light things up, but that's not actual on-field
Hmm.
game situations. So if I'm basing
Yeah.
this off of what I've seen from all of the quarterbacks that were drafted before Shador, there's only one quarterback that's comparable to Shador, and that's Cam Ward, who went number one. Outside of that, there's
Yeah.
no other quarterback that was drafted before Shador that looked better than Shador. And this is with Colorado not having the best of offensive lines. And I'm
Yeah.
being gracious when I say not having the best, because their offensive line was horrible. So I'm really being gracious when I say that. But no other quarterback outside of Cam Ward could even be comparable to what Shador accomplished last season playing for Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I think I would look at it differently if like, let's say the quarterback you're referencing is Jalen Milroe, right?
Yeah,
Going to
Miller,
Seattle.
right.
I could understand if, like, let's say a team like I'm trying to think of a team that has like an older veteran quarterback. The Rams probably the most obvious,
Yeah.
but like let's say if the Chiefs, it would never happen. But let's say the
Well,
Chiefs,
the Falcons got a young quarterback too now.
yeah.
I
But
was say the Falcons got.
let's say if the Chiefs took hypothetically like Jackson Dart and know like, yo, this is like a 2-year project. We just gonna try to develop the kid because he got raw talent, similar to what they did before. Remember when they had Alex Smith and they drafted Mahomes, they knew Mahomes wasn't gonna be ready right away, but he had a lot of raw talent, and it's like we're gonna get him ready, and then when the time is right, he could take over. So if a team was in a situation like that and did something like that with Milroe or Jackson Dart, I could understand it because it's like you don't need the quarterback. You're hoping to hit a home run with the guy. You're hoping that this guy's raw talent is so great that he develops into a star. But when you look at the teams that took quarterbacks, these are teams that actually need quarterbacks. The Giants need a quarterback. The Giants was out there last year with fucking Tommy DeVito. what? And then you went out there, signed Jameis and Russell Wilson. Neither one of those guys is a long-term answer. Those guys at the most might only be there for 1 year.
Yeah.
Shador would have been perfect there.
Yeah.
If I'm Brian Daboll and I'm coaching for my life probably at this point, if I'm Joe Sheen and I got to be the GM and I got to make this work, because Joe Sheen might be on the hottest hot seat of anybody in the NFL after Hard Knocks last year and Saquon does what he does in Philly.
Yeah,
he can't afford to miss on no draft picks.
Yeah.
And you got
the Abdul Carter pick right, which is
you got that.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
right.
okay with that.
But Seattle has Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is not a long-term answer there. Sam Darnold just had a career year. Is he going to give you that again? Probably not. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback.
The weapons ain't going to be the same.
Right. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vegas needs a quarterback. Vegas got Geno Smith. Again, how many playoff wins Geno Smith got? How many times has Geno Smith had a deep playoff run? Geno Smith has been an average quarterback for most of his career. You talking about teams that are passing up on a kid like Shador, who was just voted the best quarterback in college football last year. We talking about a kid who had almost damn near 80% completion percentage against man coverage last year. Last time I checked, the NFL loves to run man coverage defensively.
Yeah.
So you ignoring all the things that the kid has put on film, all the things that you can just see and he got it. His O-line wasn't great. They had no running game. But yet somehow the kid still threw for 4,200 yards and almost 40 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But
how would you have felt if he went to the Colts? Back up your boy. You loved it?
Me and Trip was on live yesterday, and I said the only thing that's probably stopping us from doing it is we're trying to give Anthony Richardson one more shot because Anthony Richardson, he's been so hurt that it's been tough to evaluate him. You know, he hasn't gotten through a full season, so he shows you glimpses. There are times where he makes plays you're like, that's why you drafted him the way you did, but he's never healthy. But if we would have got him, I think Shador would have beat him out and Daniel Jones out for the job.
Yeah. So it is what it is. He's on the Browns now. He's off the board. Like I said, I hope for the best for him. Because it just didn't make no sense, and I hope his next contract he really breaks the bank because he just goes out there and kills as soon as they give him an opportunity to play. So, Nesta, how do you feel about your Bills and what they did in this year's draft? Did you like the picks?
Yeah, the picks are pretty decent. The guys I really wanted, the Baltimore Ravens stole them. Your Ravens stole
Oh
starts
man.
from us. I thought he was going to slide because I want someone to replace DeMar Hamlin. I don't like our safety room,
Yeah.
so I wanted Starks to slide a little bit more. Yeah, I grabbed him. And I grabbed the
Mm-hmm.
edge rush from Marshall that I really like, the dude from Marshall.
Mike Green.
Oh,
Mike
that was a
Green,
steal.
that
That
guy.
was
That's
a
a
steal.
steal, bro. That way,
Yes,
yo, he's gonna.
and I
Oh
was
man,
talking about him yesterday and why he took so long to come off the board. And as soon as
yeah,
we got him, I texted Eric like, "Yo, we got you."
I was mad about that
yeah.
too, Nestle, because we were doing the
Woo.
live during the draft yesterday, and I knew Chris Ballard wanted another edge rusher. We ended up taking the guy out of Ohio State. But I wanted
Yeah,
Mike Green. I wanted a
Mike Green.
speed impact guy that can cause, if you put him with Latu,
Yeah.
who we drafted last year, now you got two young
Yeah,
edge
Latu.
rushers.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I got Latu. Yeah, woo.
But we ended up going with the kid out of Ohio State yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got two really good impact guys on the
I
defensive
know.
side of the football, and we definitely needed the secondary help. So that's why I'm so happy about that. And you can always use somebody that can get to the quarterback. You them edge rushers, boy, you
Yeah,
need those. So I was excited.
The Ravens in the 6th round actually drafted one of the receivers out of Colorado, LeJontay Webster.
Okay, good,
Oh.
good. I'm happy
And
about
Jimmy
that.
Horn Jr. went to the Panthers.
That's what I wanted us to
yeah.
get was with Jimmy Horn Jr. But
Shout out to Prime. He
I'm
was able
glad
to get 4 of his guys
so
in the league.
that's four.
Oh, nice.
That's four Colorado players that got drafted in this draft. Hopefully, Shiloh goes as well. Make it
I don't think
five.
Shiloh's getting drafted.
I don't think so either. But I'm
That's
just
what he
saying,
said too.
make it five.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shiloh's going to get a chance as a free agent, as an undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
That might be better for him
Undrafted,
too. He can go to
Show
a place that he
proof.
feels is the best fit.
yeah.
How you
He
feel about the
did
Colts
get hurt
draft?
during the year, and I know that affected it.
I love our
Yeah.
draft, man. I like, obviously Tyler Warren was my number one guy. That's what I wanted from the start. So
Yeah.
I like that we was able to get Tyler Warren. I like the old lineman that we just picked up from Iowa State in the 4th round, and then DJ Giddens, the running back, is a nice change of pace guy with Jonathan Taylor. So I like what we did.
Yeah,
I like our offseason as a whole because I feel like we did good with our secondary. I still wanted that edge rusher, so that's why I would have really liked Mike Green to get another guy there, or D tackle because DeForest Buckner is kind of older now, so we got to do something on the D line. But our secondary got better, and I feel like we got more weapons.
how's my rookie doing over there? You guys got what's his name from last year? What's his name again? The rookie wide receiver you having from the Colts.
When you talking about Adane, the kid from Texas. He had some issues with drops last year. Yeah. But our receiver room is a little crowded right now because Josh Downs is emerging as our slot guy. Alex Pierce had a good year. Yeah, Alex Pierce had a good year as the deep ball guy last year. So really, they fighting with Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman's supposed to be our number one. So you got the other young guys battling for snaps. So we'll see if Adonai Mitchell gets some time this year. But it's gonna be tough. Josh Downs definitely got the slot on lock.
Yeah. Who did you think? What do you think? Whose draft did you like this year? Who made you scratch your head? It's head scratches.
Actually, aside from Jackson Dart, I like the Giants draft because I feel like they focused on identity. Abdul Carter gives them a little bit more edge on defense, but I like Cam Scatterbo, the running back Cam Scatterbo. I like
Scatterbo. Yeah, I like him too.
I say, he gives them like a physical presence now in their run game. So I like their draft. I always like the Ravens draft because the Ravens find guys.
Yeah, Ravens always find guys. Yeah.
I thought the Chargers getting running back Hampton was big for them because Harbaugh likes to run the ball.
I like Jacksonville. I thought Jacksonville had a pretty good draft.
Jacksonville got
then they moved up, right, and got Travis, right?
Yeah, to get Travis. But he's gonna help them so much because they needed so much help in the secondary, and he'll get some snaps at wide receiver as well for them. So I think Travis Hunter is gonna be a good move for them. And the Patriots, but the Patriots, I feel like
Patriots, all season, Patriots, they've been doing a lot off this offseason. But didn't Jacksonville move up with Cleveland, right? They moved up with Cleveland. They say Cleveland is trying to get in 2 number ones because they're trying to go for the Archie Manning for next year. They're trying to go for a QB next year. But they drafted 2 QBs this year.
That would.
It's crazy. So I don't know what they're trying to do over there.
That's the same thing I said about the Giants, that it makes sense because if you're the Giants and you're drafting Jackson Dart, you know he can't help you this year. You're drafting him for the future. So you're probably going to be bad again. If you're in the mix for Archie Manning next year, so are you going to draft another first-round quarterback? Like, then you just wasted one on Jackson Dart. You could have won a different position there.
Yeah, that's why I thought if they traded up, I wanted them to trade up and get the linebacker from out of Alabama, Jihad, that wound up going to the freaking Eagles. And I hate when my Alabama guys go to the Eagles, and they got a whole SEC roster right now in Philly. So
Philly
you know
keep getting them guys. I don't understand. I don't understand the Jets draft. The Jets draft is the one that to me makes no sense at all.
They went with a lineman though.
Well, they've gone with an offensive lineman in 5 of the last 7 drafts.
Yeah.
So you wasting all this draft capital, and then in the second round you take a tight end. You could have took Tyler Warren or Loveland in the first round.
Yeah,
you could have got your tight end in the first round. Instead, they went to old lineman, and so I don't get what they're doing there. And they're another team too. Justin Fields, I don't think is part of their long-term plan. I don't know why they didn't address the quarterback situation either.
Think Shador would have been good over there?
Yeah, I think Shador would have been a nice piece to again, you don't have to start him right away. Aaron Glenn, as a rookie head coach, probably wants to establish the running game and be more conservative offensively. But you could have drafted him and developed him knowing that Justin Fields is only on a 2-year contract. Justin Fields isn't your guy long term. So why not get Shador now? And especially, like I said, you didn't have to do it in the first round. You could have went and got Tyler Warren or Loveland because they passed on Brock Bowers last year.
They passed on Brock Bowers last year.
Then they said, we need a tight end. And then they passed on the 2 tight ends again this year. You could have got your tight end, and then you could have still got Shador in the second round. Now, then at that point, it's like, now it's a great draft. Now you got real pieces moving forward because you still got Breece Hall. You still got Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they got to pay those guys too, right? They got to pay Sauce and Breece and Wilson soon, right?
That's why I didn't understand what they did this year. I mean, I never understand what the Jets do, so it's not really a shocker for me. But this is why they're always going to be the number 2 football team in New York because of things like this. Because clearly, y'all don't even know how to pick offensive linemen because you've tried it the past 4 or 5 years and that hasn't worked out. You should have just went with the best tight end in the draft. You had a chance again last year to draft Brock Bowers, who's going to probably wind up being the best tight end in football. And now this year you have another chance to draft the best tight end coming into the season. You dropped the ball on that one as well. I just don't know what the Jets are doing. But let's get ready.
The offensive lineman, the guy who couldn't stay healthy, I think someone else picked him up and then moved him to the inside, right?
Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton
playing well.
He was playing
well.
He was with the Eagles.
Yeah, the Eagles. Yeah, they just moved them inside. How come the Jets couldn't figure that out?
Because again, the Jets are still wasting first-round picks on old linemen every year.
Oh man,
it's the Jets, bro. I don't know what to say, but we're gonna get into the final thought segment. Nestor, give us a final thought, man.
Final thought is Shador should have been drafted much higher, man. Should have went first round.
That's the universal final thought.
Right.
Eric, what's the final thought?
Man, as always, shout out to all the supporters for rocking with us. It's crazy, man. Again, 3 straight nights as we covered the draft. This is our 4th night this week. You guys was rolling with us crazy this week, man. So we greatly appreciate that. Shout out again to Elijah Arenas, as he's recovering from that car crash. Definitely, wishing him well and thoughts and prayers out to him and the family. And what else we got, Trip? Oh yeah, man. It's just reminding people rock with us Monday. We back on Monday, man. Don't think just because we went crazy the last couple of days we escaped it Monday. We'll be right back.
Nah. We right back to work. It's a big week for us, Eric. We might have to do more of these multi-lives, in a week. But I think that the supporters be rocking with us when we do. So we might have to do that. But I'm gonna just make my final thought. I'm gonna say thank you to the supporters. I'm also gonna say big shout out to you, Nestor, and the Hot Seat Podcast. Appreciate you coming through on short notice to rock out with us. As always, my brother, much appreciated. I gotta send a quick shout out to my homegirl Ariel Porche. She just dropped her book. I just went to her book signing earlier today out in Astoria, so I just want to give her a big shout out on her book. The name of the book. Hold on, let me just say I gotta shout the name of the book out too before we get up out of here, because I gotta do her some justice when I say that. It's Queen Let's Talk. By Ariel Porche. She had the book signing sit out in Astoria. So if y'all can, y'all go check that out. We got to support our own. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to Ariel Crochet. I wish you much success with the book, and I wish you 1,000,000 sales if that's possible. Get all them books up out of here. All right. With that being said,
Yeah.
make sure y'all following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk, and subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. Oh, and don't worry if you're not in the New York City area and you can't watch us on Verizon 43 on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. All you gotta do is go to that website, realfansrealtalk.com. Click the red button on the homepage and you can watch us from anywhere in the world. And make sure you subscribe to the best 2 podcasts out there moving. But I'm gonna have to actually add a 3rd one in there too, because you got the Sanchez Show, you got Real Fans Real Talk, you got the Hot Seat Podcast. Make sure y'all subscribe, man, because we out here working. For myself, Trip Young, my co-host, my brother Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in 2 Games, and Nestor from the Hot Seat
Yep.
Podcast. We up out of here. Peace.
Peace.
This is Deion Grant from the New York Giants, Super Bowl champ, and you're watching Real Fans Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe you can.
This is Real Fans Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real